Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Welcome. If you're new, welcome back. If you're returning, it is early. um, and I'm just coming on to do my daily reading with you guys. I come on every day. If you don't know, my name's Melissa. I try to come on every day and read the word just so you can listen along or study along, do whatever, you're looking to do to get closer to God, get your word in. I try to come on every day for about 20, 30 minutes just to read as much as I can get in that time so that you can listen while you're getting ready for work, cleaning, driving, whatever the case may be, because sometimes it gets hard. It gets hard to, sit down and read sometimes. So this is just a way for you to be able to get your word in every day. I did start at Genesis, and we are now on First Kings. Um, I read from the Daily Life Bible. It is the Common English Bible, and this is just the one that I have found is just the easiest read. And I love that it's just easy to understand, easier to get through. And that's why I use this one. If you're interested in a copy, I do believe I have it in my Amazon storefront. If there's any left, I know the last time I looked, it said that there was only like one left. So it is linked in there. And if not, I have several other versions that are also great to study from. So check that out in my description box there. And I also have a playlist from Genesis up until now. So if you are just joining, if this is your first time here, check it out. And, if you want to start from the beginning, the playlist is there and you can listen to me read. um, so we ended yesterday at First Kings. We are on chapter 6. So I'm going to go ahead, and get started and see how much storage I have. Give you probably about 20 minutes today. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And Lord, I just thank you for this day, God. I thank you for bringing us here this morning or whenever they are listening. I pray, God, that you just bless those that come on. I pray, Lord, that you bring whoever is looking to grow closer to you, whoever is looking to get into your word more, people who are just struggling to find the time, God. I pray, Lord, that you bring them to this channel. I pray that you bring them to this video, God, that they may be able to grow closer to you and that this just be a helping tool for them and that you touch their lives, bring them closer to you. In Jesus' name, I thank you and I praise you, God. Thank God and amen. All right, so again, we are in First Kings and we are, I believe we're in, let me make sure. Yeah, so we ended here on chapter 6. All right, so in the 480th year, the 480th year after the Israelites left Egypt, in the month of Ziv, the second month, in the 4th year of Solomon's rule over Israel, he built the Lord's temple. The temple that King Solomon built for the Lord was 90 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 45 feet high. The porch in front of the temple's main hall was 30 feet long. It ran across the whole width of the temple and extended 15 feet in front of the temple. He made recessed and latticed windows for the temple and built side rooms against the temple walls around both the main hall and the most holy place. The lower walls were 7.5 feet wide. At the second floor, the walls were 9 feet wide, and at the third floor, they were 10.5 feet wide. He made niches around the outside of the temple so the beams wouldn't be inserted into the temple walls. When the temple was built, they did all the stone cutting at the quarry. No hammers, axes, or any iron tools were heard in the temple during its construction. The door to the stairs was at the south side of the temple. Winding stairs went up to the second floor and from there to the third floor. He completed the temple with a roof of cedar beams and cross planks. Then he built the side rooms around all around the temple. They were 7.5 feet high. He attached them to the temple with cedar wood. The Lord's word came to Solomon regarding this temple that you are building. If you follow my laws, enact my regulations, and keep all my commands faithfully, then I will fulfill for you my promise that I made to your father David. I will live among the Israelites. I won't abandon my people Israel. So Solomon constructed the temple and completed it. He built the walls within the temple with cedar planks, paneled from the floor to the ceiling. He overlaid the floor of the temple with pine planks. At the back of the temple, he built 30 feet of cedar panels from the floor to the ceiling. Solomon built the inner sanctuary, the most holy place. In front of this, the main hall was 60 feet. The cedar inside the temple was carved with gourds and blossoming flowers. The whole thing was cedar. No stone was seen. He set up the inner sanctuary inside the temple so that he could put the chest containing the Lord's covenant there. The inner sanctuary was 30 feet in length, width, and height. Solomon overlaid it with pure gold and covered the altar with cedar. Solomon covered the temple's interior with pure gold. He placed gold chains in front of the inner sanctuary and covered it with gold. He overlaid the whole temple inside with gold until the temple was completely covered. He covered the whole altar that was in the inner sanctuary with gold. He made 2 winged creatures of olive wood for the inner sanctuary, each 15 feet high. The wings of the first winged creature were each 7.5 feet long. It was 15 feet from the end of one wing to the end of the other. The winged creature also measured 15 feet. Both winged creatures had identical measurements and form. The height of both winged creatures was 15 feet. Solomon placed the winged creatures inside the temple. Their wings spread out so that the wing of the one touched one wall and the wing of the other touched the other wall. In the middle of the temple, the wings of the 2 winged creatures touched each other. He covered the winged creatures with gold. Solomon carved all the walls of the temple, inner and outer rooms, with engravings of winged creatures, palm trees, and blossoming flowers. He also covered the floor of the temple with gold in both the inner and the outer rooms. He made the doors of the inner sanctuary from olive wood and carved the door frames with 5 recesses. He overlaid the 2 olive wood doors with gold-plated carvings of winged creatures, palm trees, and blossoming flowers. He made the door of the main hall with door frames of olive wood with 4 recesses. The 2 doors of pine wood each pivoted on a socket. Solomon carved winged creatures, palm trees, and blossoming flowers and covered them with gold. He built the inner courtyard with 3 rows of cut stone, followed by 1 row of trimmed cedar. Solomon laid the foundation of the Lord's temple in the 4th year in the month of Ziv. He finished the temple in all its details and measurements in the 11th year during the 8th month, the month of Bul. He built it in 7 years. Now, as for Solomon's palace, it took 13 years for him to complete its construction. He built the forest of Lebanon palace, 150 feet in length, 75 feet in width, and 45 feet in height. It had 4 rows of cedar columns with cedar engravings above the columns. The palace's cedar roof stood about 45 beams resting. The palace's cedar roof stood about 45 beams resting on the columns, 15 beams to each row. 3 sets of window frames faced each other. All the door frames were rectangular, facing each other in three sets. He made a porch with columns 75 feet long and 45 feet wide. Another porch was in front of these with roofed columns in front of them. He made the throne room the hall of justice, where he would judge. It was covered with cedar from the lower to the upper levels. The royal residence where Solomon lived was behind this hall. It had a similar design. Solomon also made a similar palace for his wife, Pharaoh's daughter. He built all these with the best stones cut to size, sawed with saws back and front, from the foundation to the highest points, and from the outer boundary to the great courtyard. The foundation was laid with large stones of high quality, some of 15 feet and some of 12 feet. Above them were high quality stones cut to measure, as well as cedar. The surrounding great courtyard had 3 rows of cut stones and a row of trimmed cedar, just like the inner courtyard of the Lord's temple and its porch. Then King Solomon sent a message and brought Hiram from Tyre. Hiram's mother was a widow from the tribe of Naphtali. His father was a Tyrian skilled in bronze work. He was amazingly skillful in the techniques and knowledge for doing all kinds of work in bronze. He came to King Solomon and did all his work. He cast 2 bronze pillars. Each one was 27 feet high and required a cord of 18 feet to reach around it. He made 2 capitals of cast bronze for the tops of the columns. They were each 7.5 feet high. He made an intricate work of chains for the capitals on top of the columns, 7 for each capital. He made the pillars and 2 rows of pomegranates for each network to adorn each of the capitals. The capitals on top of the columns in the porch were made like lilies, each 6 feet high. Above the round-shaped part and next to the network were 200 pomegranates. These were placed in rows around both of the capitals on top of the columns. He set up the columns at the temple's porch. He named the south column Jashin. The north column he named Boaz. After putting the lily shapes on top of the columns, he was finished with the columns. He also made a tank of cast metal called the sea. It was circular in shape, 15 feet from rim to rim, 7.5 feet high, 45 feet in circumference. Under the rim were 2 rows of gourds completely encircling it, 10 every 18 inches, each cast in its mold. The sea rested on 12 oxen with their backs towards the center, 3 facing north, 3 facing west, 3 facing south, and 3 facing east. The sea was as thick as the width of a hand. Its rim was shaped like a cup or an open lily blossom. It could hold 2,000 baths. He also made 10 bronze stands. Each was 6 feet long, 6 feet wide, and 4.5 feet high. This is how each stand was made. There were panels connected between the legs. Lions, bulls, and winged otherworldly creatures appeared on the panels between the legs. On the legs above and below the lions and the bulls were wreaths on panels hanging off the stands. There were 4 bronze wheels with bronze axles for each stand. There were 4 feet and support casts for each basin with wreaths on their sides. Inside the bowl was an opening 18 inches deep. The opening was round, measuring 27 inches with engravings. The panels of the stands were square rather than round. There were 4 wheels beneath the panels. The axles of the wheels were attached to the stand. Each wheel was 27 inches high. The construction of the wheels resembled chariot wheels. The axles, rims, spokes, and hubs were all made of cast metal. There was a handle on each of the four corners of every stand, projecting from the side of the stand. The top of the stand had a band running around the perimeter that was 9 inches deep. The stand had its own supports and panels. On the surfaces of the supports and panels, he carved wings. He carved winged otherworldly creatures, lions, and palm trees with wreaths. Or sorry, hold on. Okay, the stand had its own supports and panels. On the surfaces of the supports and panels, he carved winged otherworldly creatures, lions, and palm trees with wreaths everywhere. In this manner, he made 10 stands, each one cast in a single mold of the same size and shape. He made 10 bronze wash basins, each able to hold 40 baths. Every wash basin was 6 feet across, and there was one for each of the 10 stands. He placed 5 stands on the south of the temple and 5 on the north of the temple. He placed the sea at the southeast corner of the temple. Hiram made the basins, shovels, and bowls. And so Hiram finished his work on the Lord's temple for King Solomon. 2 columns, 2 circular capitals on the top of the columns, 2 networks adorning the 2 circular capitals on top of the columns, 400 pomegranates for 2 networks with 2 rows of pomegranates for each network that adorn the 2 circular capitals on top of the columns. 10 stands with 10 basins on them, 1 sea, 12 oxen beneath the sea, and the pots, shovels, and bowls. All the equipment that Hiram made for King Solomon for the Lord's temple was made from polished bronze. The king cast it in clay molds in the Jordan Valley between Succoth and Zarethan. Due to the very large number of objects, Solomon didn't even try to weigh the bronze. Solomon also made all the equipment for the Lord's temple: the gold altar, the gold table for the bread of the presence, the lampstands of pure gold, 5 on the right and 5 on the left in front of the inner sanctuary, the flowers, the lamps and the tongs of gold, the cups, wick trimmers, bowls, ladles, and censers of pure gold, and the gold sockets for the doors to the most holy place, and for the doors to the main hall. When all King Solomon's work on the Lord's temple was finished, he brought the silver, gold, and all the objects his father David had dedicated and put them in the treasuries of the Lord's temple. And I'm going to go ahead and end there. Yeah, this is a very long chapter. So we ended on chapter 8. So prayerfully, the Lord's will, I'll be back tomorrow to continue reading. And again, if you haven't already, be sure to check out the playlist so you can listen from Genesis up until where we're at now. And join me again tomorrow, Lord willing. And that is it for today. Until next time, be blessed and be the reason someone smiles. Bye.